So how strong are the US tech giants? How really strong are they in terms of data, in terms of, influence, or in terms of, knowledge or money, right? How strong are they? And, who is actually going to dare go up against them? Now, we know there is a conversation, with security policies that have been going on, with Facebook, the amount of lawsuits that they've been having. And when you're talking about companies like Apple, now these guys are taking low jabs at companies like Facebook, because of the fact that they basically come in and take up a ton of your data. And they go into the lines of actually talking about how they sell your data. And then when it comes to moving your data around, selling it to companies that could actually use it, this is basically, apart from, they've been having their issues because of the fact that they've been having their lawsuits, or being sued, because of the fact that companies or people are not really aware of this. I mean, okay, right, Facebook is free, but at what, why is it free? That is the question that should go on, right? And why is Facebook free? Why has it always been free? The days where Facebook came into consideration, you had your login page, and then it came into the lines of where you put your username, your password, and then it says Facebook is free, it'll always will be. And now, why is this? Why do people actually not understand that they're actually giving their data out? So what we're going to do is, I'm going to break this down for you. I'm going to be breaking down the concept of how Apple is countering Facebook, and then how the EU is coming into place when it comes to breaking down what and where you can actually, what data, or where you can use it, what you can do with the data. The EU is actually coming into play with the conversation here. And then when it comes to what I'm going to do is, I'm going to talk about Tim Cook, I'm going to be talking about Apple, I'm going to be talking about all these conversations around business, tech, entrepreneurship. You're tuned in on The Buzz today, and I'm Tim. I'm with you all the way till 3 p.m. Now, before I break this down, I'm going to be running into a couple of videos just to show you who we are at Relax Radio, and I'll be right back with you. Stay tuned. Good afternoon. This is Relax Radio, and you are tuned in on The Buzz. now we know that there is a conversation around the Apple conversation when it comes to safety, when it comes to the breakdown of everything with regards to how people say that when it comes to Apple, when it comes to safety, that they do have a ton of your information, but when it comes to apps using your information, for example, you're gonna have if it is your location, if it is your camera, if it is your voice, your microphone, you're always aware of what is being used. But apart from that, what conversations are actually recorded, what data is actually kept into or taken into their database. I mean, just to give you a hint of what they can collect from you, it can be a number, it can be an email address, it can be your credit card details, it can be where you live, where you go, where you work on a daily basis, and what times you're up, what times you're sleeping. Your phone is basically a machine, and you're not the only person that can control it. So that's what I'm saying. Now when it comes to your antitrust conversations, when it comes to your other draft conversations with your friends or in different apps, you know you don't, I mean, I'd say 98% of people don't really read the terms and conditions letters, or the terms and conditions now before they start using it. For example, now TikTok is one app that it's come to a net worth of half the net worth of Instagram. And then when we come into the conversation around we come into the conversation around how when we come into the conversation around how people can actually use your data, your face, your it actually measures biometrics data, and it actually comes in the lines of performing around how where you are and things like that. But my honest opinion is, when it comes to Apple's data, they seem to be on top of the ball. Now when Apple talks about how they're very critical with their data usage, they say that these union rules are aimed at curbing the power of the United States tech giants, saying that they could pose security and privacy to iPhones. Now Tim Cook has basically spoken in the lines of public comments about the Digital Markets Act. Now this is all DCMA, right? DCMA stands for the Digital Markets Act. And the fact that the EU is the company that is actually come in the lines of helping people understand where it's going, or talking about how your side loading conversations when it comes to your data, your privacy is critical for your understanding or your usage, your personal usage, right? So what people are saying is that when it comes to things around when it comes to things like your data, when it comes to your privacy, Apple is relatively on top of the ball, because they have their phone designed in a way. This is not just the aesthetics, but then what we're talking about is the software. The software is basically designed in a way where you actually can break down what content you're sharing with who, what channels you're sharing with who, or when it comes to conversations around your personal data. I mean, where you're going, what locations you are at, things like these are all a part of a concern, or these are all valuable to some people if they actually really want to know. And the fact that they share all this is important. The fact that they keep all this in mind is what's important as well. Now I'm basically going to break down the conversations around what risks iPhones have, and then how Tim Cook is looking at countering these, how companies are basically looking at growing without without causing a stir with their privacy when it comes to the conversation around pictures, or when it comes to your posts, your conversations with your friends, your personal data. I mean, these are all um i'd say these are all conversations that people need to consider. People need to understand one a sense of respect towards people's privacy. But when you understand software, when you understand anything, If you have watched The Social Dilemma, I'm basically going to break that down for you as well. And if you have watched that movie, it's a documentary, I would say. When if you have watched that, you'll understand how far these companies actually go into understanding, studying you. And basically, these it's not just the company or the people, it's the way these companies are basically designed to um it's the way these companies are basically designed to help them understand you. And if it comes to the companies, or if it comes to the conversations around the it's not just the companies or the conversations, that it's the apps, it's the algorithms, it's the softwares that actually try and understand you as a person, you as a personality, and try to push it in all those directions. Now, Tim Cook is basically, in his first public comments, he's basically spoken about how the Digital Markets Act, or the EU antitrust chief, this is Margaret Vestager. They said that parts of these were good. Now, when you're talking about this, you need to understand that there's a whole different concept to the EU antitrust conversations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put you into a couple of videos to understand who we are. But before that, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to talk about. When you're talking about the EU antitrust law, this is competition. This competition that encourages, companies to offer consumer goods, services. These are most favorable terms, on the most favorable terms, and then it basically encourages efficiency, innovation, reduces prices. And then, also what EU antitrust policy does is it develops from Articles 101, 102 of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. That's the TEFU. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically break down, what things in the lines of, private enforcement is, predatory pricing is, passive sales are, and then also things like interim measures. Now, also for you to understand what Article 102 or 101 means, I want you to stay tuned here on the Buzz. So I'm going to break down, anything to do with what we are saying, what we're doing, and where you need to keep an eye on in terms of the EU, safety laws, or if it comes to your personal data, giving you awareness on what you're actually doing. So stay tuned right here. This is the Buzz. I'm your host, Tim. I'm going to be with you all the way till 3 p.m. I've got a couple of cool topics for you all around business, tech, entrepreneurship, as per usual. And I hope you guys have been having an amazing weekend. Max Verstappen killed it yesterday. They had a super game, super competition by Mercedes as well on the F1 if you were watching. But I'm going to be getting back into the topic anyway. Stay tuned right here on Relaks Radio. That's RELAKS. My name is Tim, and you're tuned in on The Buzz. Good afternoon.
Again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, has how much it's changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense.
They can't accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you, how did I do? Or you didn't do very well. And they get upset, And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young. Well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, I'd say to me, you had one to forget.
That's it. Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, yeah, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I'd dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What are you trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much. A lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid. I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure.
Climb Mount Everest. That is one of that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. I mean, okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
They're talking about mental health. Well, if you went out and got some exercise in the fresh air, that would improve your mental health. It will make you feel better.
That's true. That is true. I wholeheartedly agree. But then for some people, it's how do you find the motivation to, especially when it comes to riding a bicycle, to do it again and again and again and again? It's a cycle that you have to be used to. How do you do it? What makes you wake up in the morning and decide, hey, I'm going to pick my bike up today. I'm going to cycle. What makes you want to do that?
What makes me want to do that?
Yeah. What do you like? What could you give listeners, like people listening in right now? What kind of tip could you give them?
Well, the first tip I would give them, if you haven't tried it before, try it. It can open up new horizons. It'll make you fitter. It will definitely make you fitter. Cycling is one of the best forms of aerobic exercise you can do.
It sounds like, if you think about it, yeah, it sounds like great fun. Because what essentially you're trying to say is also at the same time, when if you look at it from this perspective, with regards to mental health, especially when you look at it with mental health, this is another way to fight it. I feel like you go outside, you meet more people, you interact with, socially, you'll interact with more people, and you're keeping fit, you're making connections, you're breathing in the good and exhaling the bad. I feel like that's a great thing right there.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got a better way with words than I have, I'll tell you. But you're quite right. What you say there.
I've been doing this for quite some time. Hey, you'll get the hang of it.
I've been doing it for about 10 minutes now, so yeah.
That I can never really understand people staying in one room the whole day when you can have the world to see. I am a traveler. I travel. I love traveling. Traveling is just one of the things I do. And on top of my bucket list was, to one time, hopefully when I get there, go to Nepal and climb Mount Everest. That is one of that's in my bucket list. You're laughing, but that is the facts right there. I'd love to do that. That is something I'm looking forward to do, hopefully.
Climb Everest.
Mount Everest. Okay, not the very tip of Mount Everest, maybe the base camp at least.
Base camp, yeah.
At least.
Would you be able to cycle there?
Oh.
That's right. This is the buzz. And we are on Relax Radio. We're talking to you everything, everything business, tech, entrepreneurship. And when it comes to, things around how you need to understand where you're going, where you're putting your data. This is all a part of, today. This is all a part of, your conversation in the lines of where you need to be, what you need to do. So I told you I'm going to be breaking down what the EU, antitrust laws are and how they actually govern. Now, when it comes to the antitrust laws, by the way, it's not just, for tech. It's not just for apps or, anything to do with your online couriers or things like that. It comes to anything in the lines of physical goods as well. So coming into, it's just more concentrated around this because obviously tech is a more important conversation Tech is a majority in terms of accumulating your data. Um, Things like that basically. And when you're coming to a point where your competition, encouraging your offers to certain people with goods and consumers, when you're talking about this, basically it comes to a point where your efficiency, your innovation, introducing your prices, these are all a part of the conversation. Now, private enforcement refers to individuality in initiated litigation, either as a standalone law or a follow-on action. Now, before a court remedy, an infringement of antitrust law, the European Court of Justice stressed the compensation functions in its Manfredi and the coverage cases in context of damage claims. Now, you know, in terms of predatory pricing, the conversation here around the EU is, I'm basically going to help you understand what predatory pricing is. Um, Predatory pricing is basically the conversation around how, when it comes to things like the the push for different things in the lines of when it comes to things in the lines of different things like um like I say, you need to understand how important your competition is in terms of their pricing as well. And if you are a market contender, if you are in a market of whatever, you need to understand how far you need to push your product or your service. And a part of this is definitely your competition. So I mean, it definitely comes to your product, it definitely comes to your service as well, your standard of service or your product service, right? But what I'm saying is, eventually it'll come to a point where you need to understand how far you are doing your job in terms of research for the market, or being relevant, being available to society, to your customer, and not pricing yourself too high if you are obviously not providing that much value. Now, we know perceived value of goods are different to actual values. Sometimes it depends on your marketing strategies, it depends on your product, or it depends on your people, the logistics. There's a ton that you can actually concentrate around when it comes to this. But what I'm saying is, the EU antitrust laws actually, have a selective price cutting conversation for where predatory prices come into play. When it, is a selective price cutting conversation when it comes to the predator imposing a cost below the market price. So let's say for example, you go to you basically go shop for your groceries during the like usual, as per usual, during the week. And you're comparing your prices of the overall cost. Let's say there's 5 supermarkets, right? Now, let's say you average around 100 quid per supermarket, but you come to a point where one out of four supermarkets basically offer um, the same goods, the same value at about 60% of the cost. So let's say you're spending £60 there instead of 100. Which supermarket are you actually going to go to? I mean, there's no question asked, there's no two questions asked. You're definitely going to go to the £60 cost, because you'll be saving 40 quid per week. And 40 a week means £160 a month. So now what this is going to do is, it's going to either run the other supermarkets out of it's either going to run them out of demand, or out of business, or it's going to drive their prices down. Now, the reason people do this is because in most cases the prices are reduced, sometimes they're sold at cost. This is what happens with a lot of tech, by the way. And once it comes to a point where the competition understands that they can't compete with you on price, at least, they either exit the market, or they come to a point where they say, look, we can't do this anymore. It's too much of a cost. We don't have demand because of our prices, and they reduce their prices. But now, in most cases, what the intention of doing this is to drive them out of business and then into a point where they actually are the only contender in the market. And if they are the only contender in the market, they obviously increase their production or their services, their systems to a point where they can contribute for at least 4 supermarkets worth of products, and then they increase their prices. So they've got you as the customer, they've got you as the user, and eventually down the line they're just gonna say that you can't buy from us if you don't pay such and such prices. So this is what predatory pricing does. Now, what the EU antitrust laws have is, on selective price cutting, there is a predation that can take the form of selective price cutting when the predator imposes below cost prices to competitors' customers, or to customers that would otherwise desert to a competitor, while leaving the other prices to the existing customers at a higher level. So this is what I'm just helping you understand what predatory pricing is. I've got passive sales, I've got interim measures as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run you through a couple of videos of who we are at Relaks Radio. This is the business show, this is the buzz, and I'm your host, Tim. I'm talking to you about everything business, tech, and entrepreneurship. Stay tuned right here if you want to hear more around what is going on in the EU with the antitrust laws, and the conversation that started with data. It's important that you understand who the EU antitrust laws are. So stay tuned right here. This is the buzz. Like I said, my name is Tim. I'm your host all the way till 3 p.m. Good afternoon. This is Relaks Radio, and I'm with you. I'm your host, Tim. Like I said, I'm going to be with you till 3. You're tuned in on Relaks Radio. Stay right here. Don't go anywhere. This is the place you need to be. Make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you comment on our videos. You are linking. Make sure you comment on our videos, like our videos, share them, post them with friends that you think will find value in it, and eventually come to a point where you actually download our app with you, so you don't miss a beat, you don't miss us wherever you go, and you basically have us with you wherever you go. So stay tuned. This is the buzz. My name is Tim, and I'm your host all the way to 3 p.m. on the buzz.
But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, "You've had one to forget," God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Well, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, has how much it's changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense. They can't
accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you, how did I do? Or you didn't do very well. And they get upset, And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young. Well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, I'd say to me, "You had one to forget." That's it.
Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, yeah, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, "You had one to forget. Get over it." And that was it. So I dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, "You've had one to forget," God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Well, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point? What's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of losing. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because, as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid. I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure. And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want to stand out though so much, especially with these kind of shirts when you're riding? There must be a purpose behind it, right?
Well, when you say a purpose, Nick, what I do, I wear the shirts, mainly one, because they're nice and bright. So they make me visible, especially if I'm riding on the road.
Okay. That's very important, right? Because you want cars,
Very important. And also, like, people see me in, like, calves, and perhaps I shouldn't be saying this on here, I suppose, but in the bar afterwards.
All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, you look like a guy who would do.
You know me too well. You know me too well, Nick.
The Buzz.
That is right. This is The Buzz. I'm your host, Tim, and I'm with you all the way till 3 p.m. Now, breaking down things in the lines of the EU antitrust laws. Now, we did talk about how, when predatory pricing comes into play, what conversations can arise, when we're talking about different conversations in the lines of business strategy. You need to be ethical as well, right? Because, it is true. You are in business. It is a game. It is, I wouldn't say game. It is, a competition. It is a big competition. Now, I want to know what your take is on this. Feel free to comment or like, share, subscribe with us. My name is Tim. Like I said, you can call me up on 07852 473 473. You can also comment on this video and let us know what your take is on the topics that we're talking about. Now, to add to it, the passive sales conversation. Now, EU law under 101 TFEU treats selling on the internet as passive as opposed to active sales. There's restrictions on passive sales that are regarded as hardcore restrictions or restrictions by object as opposed by effect. Now, when it comes to interim measures are basically a conversation where we basically run in the lines of the we need the we need to make sure that when it comes to injunctive relief, these are granted by the EU and Commission, European Commission, by the way, and competition authorities, that's the EU member states, for example. But in addition to that, there is the general court that is basically empowering a giant interim measures. These are also referred to as interim relief in judicial proceedings. So, to understand further, you need to trust the fact that, when it comes to these operations, when it comes to these businesses, there is, different article prohibitions. There is a different article position. And then when you're talking about the conversation around, if EU has antitrust laws, if Article 102 basically prohibits these, when we're talking about different options, when we're talking about different options, when we're talking about, the treaty of the functioning of, these conversations, these may affect trade EU unions and, the member states of these as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be running you through these, EU antitrust laws, and then, breaking down the prohibitions. If EU is a cartel, understanding if EU is a cartel. Now, there is a lot of questions around if EU is a cartel, but, it's basically particularly an advanced cartel combined that would strike more and, basically help people understand the purpose of the EU coming together. I mean, it's always, stronger than one. That is no doubt. That is no doubt for, people. And, when you're coming to executives, when you're coming to customers, people to understand that, there is a particular style of these happening. There is a, a dominance to the abuse. There is, Article 102, people are trying to understand if the EU is a monopoly. See, I'd say the advantage is for, helping people understand the legitimacy in, people to understand the legitimacy in, working together as a union. Working there, it's called a union for a reason, and that's that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be coming in back now. It's time for me to head out. I'm going to be coming in back for you to understand, further in the lines of conversations around, how the EU should focus on, 5 tech companies, and this is basically said by MEP, leading MEP, and then the beta version of crypto assets regulation. This is in the EU. So, I'm going to be basically breaking these down for you. Stay tuned right here. I'm Tim. I'm your host on The Buzz. And I'm going to be with you all the way till 3 p.m. Make sure you're tuned in. Make sure you download our app. It's free. Like I said, we're live now. You can actually download our app and listen to us there as well, wherever you are. If you're in the gym, if you are, taking a stroll on the treadmill in the gym, right? If you're at office, driving home, this is the time you do that at. And you need to understand what if you're having lunch, depends on what you're doing. I mean, make sure you get that dose of the business, tech, and entrepreneurship. I'm with you every weekday, 12 to 3 p.m. Make sure you're tuned in here. Comment on our videos. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Share our videos. Let your friends know what we are talking about, and just get a conversation going. Basically, I'm Tim. I'm your host. I'm going to be with you all the way to 3 p.m. Stay tuned. Good afternoon. This is Relax Radio.